Ladies and gentlemen, whether you like it or not, Hedwig!
Get that 8-track out of here. It's time for Hedwig, Inch by Angry Inch, the podcast where we analyse and tear down the movie masterpiece that is Hedwig and the Angry Inch, chapter by chapter. I am your host, John Fern, and I am joined by my very special guest. You may remember them from the first ever episode, technically chapter 0. I have Conway.
Hiya. Thank you for having me back, motherfucker. Sorry, I immediately showed up and I'm swearing at you. Sorry,
hey, it's
Jonathan.
that kind of show. You can do what the fuck you like. Don't worry.
That's lovely. That, you may not know, I'm recording this totally naked and covered in my own shit. No, I am. I'm so sorry. 2 seconds of attention.
Hey, I often record podcasts scantily clad because the room gets very, very hot when I'm doing it. Because I have to shut the door so there's no sound. Everything's closed, no windows open. The computer's going. It's like a supercomputer. Oh God, it gets warm.
A soupy recording setup.
Yeah. So this is chapter 6 of Hedwig, titled American Radio. On the Blu-ray. I don't know if it's called that on the DVD. The DVD has slightly different chapters. I'm going off the Criterion Blu-ray because we're fancy round here. We're posh.
Professional, bitch.
Very professional. This segment starts with Hedwig and Yitzhak having a cuddle, and it ends with BOOTAY. Oh, yeah. Now, you've specifically requested this bit, not for the cuddle or the booty, well, maybe you want that too. But there's a specific bit later on you were very keen to talk about, wasn't there?
There is. I don't know if I was keen to talk about it. It just, when you very kindly asked if there were any bits that I would particularly like to do, and I went straight to Menses Fair. Wanted to talk about the Menses Fair.
I mean, the name alone just gets to me. It's great. But we'll get there. This is probably going to go a bit long, but we'll try and skim through, I suppose. So yes, we start here with Hedwig and Yitzhak cuddling, and Hedwig seems to have taken the last chapter, The Origin of Love, and its lyrics very literally, because the mission they have tasked themselves with is to find their other half. Not an easy task.
I mean, no, not an easy task. I wanted to talk about the direction in this little section.
Oh.
The image of Hedwig on the bed, interlocked with Yitzhak, trying to spoon as a parallel to the image of the two halves of the tattoo. Yes. I think that, the moment in here where Yitzhak pulls away from them, I just think it's such a, I don't know, it's kind of a heartbreaking and very beautiful image.
It is. It is quite heartbreaking because, I mean, the implication is that Yitzhak to Hedwig and vice versa, it doesn't work. They're not the one for either. And they know it, really. I think Yitzhak, they know. They look troubled. They can hear Hedwig's thoughts, I think, a little bit.
And I think as well as, such a difference between... Maybe there's, a problem with trying to find your other half exactly because it means that you're trying to find someone who will fit all of your crevices and who you can make, someone you can make fit into all the empty parts of you, which isn't, I mean, it's not something we should look for in someone else, is it?
No, absolutely not. And ultimately, I suppose that's what this will be about at the end. Hedwig realises that's a bad thing, realises that's not good, they don't need that, the other person doesn't need that.
Yeah. I think so. I mean, I realise, that's, oh, hey, what's the film about?
Hey, it's important to talk about. It's important.
But it is, I think, the relationship with Yitzhak is so destructive because that's what they're both trying to do. You don't see it from Yitzhak so much in this chapter exactly, but like part of them, you know, the moments where we see them putting on Hedwig's wigs, their frustration at Hedwig still singing songs they wrote with Tommy. Like, Yizak's kind of trying to do the same thing, where they have this kind of longing to be Hedwig, and not to be with Hedwig, really. And not even really to be Hedwig, but they have this longing for something that Hedwig has.
Yeah. Well, that's what Yitzhak sort of wanted to be, is what Hedwig is. So that's what they represent to them, like their sort of unfulfilled potential and desires and things, which again isn't very healthy. You can't just go get with someone who represents these things. That's not really going to end well for either party. So everyone's sad, everyone's in the wrong. God, this is depressing.
And I think, like, again, this is like I think this is something that a lot of I don't know if a lot of trans people struggle with it, but like, and I don't know if you've kind of if it's something you've experienced, but like a shaky line between like what you're attracted to and what you want to be, like, and maybe, I don't know, maybe, I think I say all trans people experience it. I think a lot of queer people, a lot of kind of people who are attracted to the same gender struggle with it. Or not struggle, like, experience it. I think maybe it's difficult if you're a trans person because you might not be attracted to those qualities in someone else at all. Like, broadly, you know, occasionally I'm attracted to men, pansexual, but by and large, I am far more likely to be attracted to women.
Yeah.
But when I was younger, I had lots of kind of crushes on boys, crushes on celebrities that weren't really about being attracted to that person. It was about like the idea that I could become that person.
Ah, like things you could sort of take from them. Not that sounds nasty, take from them, but you know what I mean? Learn, I guess, grow from them.
Like, it's like projecting onto someone, I think. You kind of are drawn to someone and like maybe like attracted to them, but not attracted like romantically or physically. Attracted because, like Yitzhak to Hedwig, they're living out something that you, like, long for.
Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense, I think. A lot of people do sort of face those kind of things. And Yitzhak's doing it here, I think, in this movie, especially at the start. Especially when you find out, of course, that they were a drag queen. Did we mention this on the preview episode with you? I can't remember. Because in the bonus materials, Yitzhak was a drag queen before they met Hedwig. They were called Crystal Nacht.
Oh, I love it.
They would do songs from Yentl.
Oh, that's amazing. That is that's fucking brilliant.
There's a deleted scene where they talk about this, and it's where they meet. And Hedwig basically takes Yitzhak away to be their lover and whatnot, on the condition that a wig never touches their head ever again.
Oh, I didn't know that background, and it's horrible.
I know, it makes Hedwig seem even worse, to be honest.
What do you think? So, we kind of talk about Yitzhak kind of seeing in Hedwig or being attracted to in Hedwig something that they want to be in themselves or to have in themselves. What do you think Hedwig is kind of looking for in Yitzhak?
That's a very, very difficult question, actually. That's the toughest one of all, I think.
I wonder if, and this is just pure speculation, but I wonder if like the connecting tissue is like power. Because when I think about, like, really thinking about Luther, Hedwig talks about, like, the taste of those gummy bears. Sorry, I realise I'm sneaking on to the next chapter.
Do it.
But it was a unique taste, like nothing I had never tasted a gummy bear like it before. And then I realised it was power. And, like, the power that she has over Yitzhak is very material.
Oh, yeah.
Like, and it's about having their passport and having their kind of, and with like, maybe with Luther it's kind of a false power. It's like the power of like physical attraction.
Yeah, I suppose they feel like they have power over Luther, but they don't really.
Oh, they absolutely don't really. But like I think what Luther gives them is like the sensation, or like he makes her feel powerful.
Yeah.
With his desire for her. Then with Tommy, he makes her feel experienced, like she's his educator, she's his teacher, like she's his mentor. And it's interesting because it's a complete like power reversal between Luther and Yitzhak, where Luther is responsible for her getting into the United States. He's responsible for like her living conditions. And ultimately he kind of betrays her in a very destructive way. And then with Yitzhak, like, she physically has their passport.
Yeah, that's not a joke when they say, I've got their passports right here. It turns out it's true later on.
Yeah, like, she does control, like, she controls their tour. She kind of, like, it's such a hostile relationship that it is almost like a complete inverse of what they had with Luther, which made them feel at the beginning powerful and at the end completely powerless.
Yeah, so I suppose maybe they now want to put themselves in the Luther role.
Yeah, or even if it isn't conscious, maybe they want to have a relationship with someone who absolutely cannot walk away from them. Yes,
yeah, because even their dad, I mean, obviously for good reason, but he was made to walk away from by the mother. So that's the start of the problems right there, obviously. Going back to attraction as well, Hedwig clearly is bisexual or pansexual, I suppose you could say, here. Because in their words, they are open to the possibility of their other half being a he or a she. They explicitly do say that. I mean, they do still lean towards male, because they then, from then on, use he, did he get the looks, the love, all that kind of thing. But, the idea is out there. Hedwig's like, I'll just pursue love where I can find it. It doesn't seem to be with Yitzhak. This is Yitzhak's maybe become a tool.
Yeah, I wonder if like there's in that little bit of is it a he or a she? I wonder if there's like a little bit of acknowledgement that maybe their other half isn't going to be someone who they are sexually compatible with. Like maybe something has gone very strange and your other half is just going to be their absolute best friend, or is going to be someone who they can actually never get back together with because of this. Or I wonder if it is that they're open to it being a she. Who knows?
Oh, that adds a new layer to it. I like that. That's interesting. Oh, that'd be upsetting though. If I think you kind of want Hedwig to have this love, and I know they don't need it ultimately. That's the message. But yeah, you want something nice for them, even if they're a bit manipulative.
Oh yeah, no, like it's. I mean, they're painfully relatable.
Yes,
even if they're a bit manipulative.
And I think their manipulative kind of ways, I don't want to say they're understandable, but you can excuse them. They've been through a lot.
Yeah, it's like it's very like I guess another thing in the whole show is like there's a lot of learned trauma like passed on. I think someone said in one of your past episodes, Hedwig says that they gave peace. I gave a piece to my mother. I gave a piece to my man. I gave a piece to a rock star. Like, but in reality, they've like taken things from everyone. Like they've taken a bit of the way that their mother treated them, and they've taken a bit of the way Luther treated them.
Yeah, and then that song where they quote that, they are literally singing about being a patchwork person, essentially. And
I think a lot of the things that Hedwig does kind of do wrong, and a lot of like the kind of harm that they do is harm that's passed forward, isn't it? Harm that's like learned.
Yes.
So you have like it's a very like it's unimaginable not to sympathize with them, even when they are at their absolute worst.
Well, that's the thing. Like, do they even really know what a good relationship is? How do they know how to treat Yitzhak? They may be doing the best they can. Again, not excusing it as such.
No.
There's a lot of issues at play.
Well, and also, like, there's a power imbalance here. It's not like it would be wrong to frame this as like Hedwig is trapping Yitzhak unwillingly into a relationship. Like, they're just two dysfunctional people who have entered a relationship that isn't right for either of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
But obviously it does explode somewhat later on.
Oh, yeah.
But it builds to that point. You get the impression it's been a little while coming as well. Things haven't been working for a long time. If they ever were, maybe they should never have been a couple. They should have maybe just been friends.
Yeah.
And one other little thing in this scene, very minor, not deep. It took me many, many, many watches to notice, maybe just because I had crappy versions, crappy quality, that the whole band are sleeping around the bed. I always thought this was like an intimate scene where it's just them two cuddling, but the whole band are around the bed.
I absolutely had not noticed that, but I love it.
It's great.
And it makes sense, like, oh god, yeah, there they are. The band and a couple of groupies.
yeah. It makes sense, yeah, as you say, because, they're on tour. They haven't got any money. You saw them all crammed into that room earlier. I don't know how I'd never noticed, but, before... Well, I mean, I noticed before this, but it took me, 10 goes to see it.
It's such a beautiful... I know I keep... I don't want to bang on about the direction too much, but there's something so, when you see, people asleep in Renaissance paintings, and they're just, a weird pile.
Yes.
And then there's, this one person, highlighted in angelic light. It's very that. And it does make sense. They're on tour. They've got no money. Who's going to pay for more than one? Who's going to pay for more than one?
Yep.
Hotel room. And also, I love so fucking much that, they don't share the bed.
Yeah, you lot are on the floor. I'm the singer.
Yeah, Hedwig gets the bed. Maybe he's a conjoiner.
Maybe.
Maybe.
On special occasions. But no, I do like it. Every band I know, basically, will have stories about sleeping like this, pretty much.
Oh,
Maybe not letting the lead singer have the bed exclusively, but, the lead singer might think they're the one who's in charge.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on... I feel like Hedwig is a particularly fearsome lead singer. I wouldn't want to take the bed away from her.
No. These people are kind of under a thumb, to be honest. They do what Hedwig says. In fact, later on, they do refer to her as Miss Hedwig.
Miss Hedwig.
I imagine she's like, you have to call me Miss. It's like, oh, okay. Because yes, Miss Hedwig.
Oh.
But no, it really does look like a Renaissance painting. I'm so happy you said that, because I've always thought that, but I was hoping other people saw it, because I love paintings like that. Why are people just reclining in the most bizarre fashion? It's my ambition to recline like that one day.
And I think it's the way that they're kind of it's the way that they're all intertwined.
Yes.
Where looking at them, it's quite hard to see where one person begins and the next, where one person's body ends and the next begins, because they're all just entangled.
A mass of bodies strewn about the room, like an orgy of Roman or Greek proportions.
A Saturnalia. And none of them worried about finding their other halves or lacking their other halves.
No. This seems to be a story that Hedwig themselves has latched onto, and other people see as just, a normal part of life. Oh yeah, I might find the one. Hedwig is seeking them out, which isn't a good thing, really. You shouldn't necessarily seek it out.
And interestingly, for the fact that she is so desperately trying to find her other half, all those bedmates could be on the bed with her. She's made herself more isolated.
Yes. Yeah, it's like a raft. Separating them from the sea of possibility. Ooh, I've never seen it that way. I love it.
Ah. Well, gotta really stare at this. Gotta really be staring at this still image to get there.
So Hedwig has on the womb sounds again, which I mentioned in a previous episode was because they're kind of their true self is gestating, like a baby in the womb, and this is them sort of in the womb in a fetal sort of position. They're growing, ready to spring forth a new person. But on a lighter note, lately, due to doing this and preparing the notes, I've been using sleep sounds on my Echo
Ooh.
I know, I've never done it before, so I tried it out. Womb sounds are horrible. They're nightmare fuel.
Yeah, I can imagine, because there's something quite like, as a child, it's probably nice to be in a warm, wet cave, but as an adult, that probably means you've been eaten by someone.
Probably. And I don't know how it's supposed to help you sleep right, because, you know, it's the heartbeat, essentially, of the baby. Babies' heartbeats are quick. It goes like... It's like, I can't sleep. This is like techno.
Yeah, I don't get... Also, the only time you hear your... Like, the only time when you know that there's a heartbeat going on is when you've drunk 9 cups of coffee and not slept in 2 days. And I don't need that feeling.
I enjoy that feeling, not when I'm trying to sleep, though. But so I tried out a few. Whale sounds were very good. I liked them.
Nice.
But my partner, they did not like that. Said it was haunting. I loved it. I thought the whales were fantastic. The mutually agreed upon one has been rainforest sounds.
I absolutely love rain sounds.
That was good.
They are my favorite. Have you got there's one of those apps where you can mix your absolute perfect rain sound?
Oh, maybe you can. I haven't had a look.
Oh, you definitely Echo might just be fobbing you off with here's your standard rainforest noises. You want to get on it's something like myrainfall.com, and you can adjust the low rain sounds. You can turn I don't know how to describe it. The pitch, the timbre, the heaviness.
I like quite a low, steady, kind of deep sound.
Yeah, you don't want that
No.
That's not the rain what you want. You want the
Yeah.
Sorry.
Quite light and in the background. That's nice like that.
Hedwig and the ASMR.
I don't understand ASMR. I love watching the videos because I find them funny. I don't get why some people get off on them.
Well, some people get off on literally anything under the
That's true. Some people get off on watching people eat pizza on YouTube. So there you go.
That does sound pretty hard.
Which is fine. You do you.
Yeah, you follow your hearts, kids.
Yeah, as long as you're not harming anyone, do what you like. It's cool. I'm not kink shaming anyone.
I think I'm so sorry, this is not about Hedwig. ASMR channels, there's always a bit of me that's I could start one. It's with people who write porn on Kindle, they write erotica novels on Kindle, and I always think, those motherfuckers are making so much money, I could do that.
They might be, you never know.
Oh no, people writing porn on Kindle are making a fortune. I don't want to name any names, but I know someone, a friend of a friend, writes extremely niche, fantasy erotica on Kindle and publishes it, and they make enough money to pay rent in London and ever be increasing in their savings. In central London, they are making a fucking fortune. I feel exactly the same way about ASMR though. I really want to not because I like it, but because it looks easy. I just have the idea of hello, Jonathan. Welcome to Conway's ASMR. Oh, sorry. Welcome to my seaside hotel. I've brought you some breakfast. It's a lovely egg. I'm sorry. Yeah,
it just.
I'm sorry. I want to do it, but I just don't have any. I shouldn't. I'm gonna leave it alone.
It's probably one of those things that's easy to start off and difficult to master.
Yeah. Because you just got to keep up. You have to keep on coming up with ideas of noises to make.
I know, clinking your nails on the mic.
Oh, and I don't have nails because I am pretty gay.
Whereas I have very long nails, but I have one of those foam things on the end of the mic, so you're not going to hear it anyway.
Oh, ruined, wasted.
Maybe this. Maybe.
Oh yeah, that's
I don't know
good.
if you can hear it
That's
or not.
hot. Yeah, no, it's hot.
Oh, but last night I did use beach sounds. I wasn't that into the beach sounds. Kept me awake. I was awake till like 3, 4 in the morning. Couldn't sleep. And I think it's the beach sounds that did it. Plus I was boiling, and plus my cat was sleeping on my chest. So.
Oh no. Well, I guess the thing is, if you're at a beach with your cat, you don't want to fall asleep because the tide will come in, your cat's going to get lost, and he's going to get wet, and they're going to come back and scratch you.
Oh, no, she would never leave my side. She does. She's here now. Hello, Drusilla.
Oh, hello, Drusilla.
She never leaves me.
Would you take her to the beach?
No, I don't let her go outside at all.
That's why you couldn't sleep. You were like,
that's why.
Drusilla's at the beach. This isn't right.
This is all wrong.
This
it's
is
unnatural.
all wrong. She's not safe.
Oh, bless. No, she wouldn't be. She'd be terrified. She's a little wimp. She thinks she's a big scary tiger, but she's not.
Oh.
She's a little baby.
Well, but she might just be playing innocent. I mean, Drusilla and Buffy, she seemed like such a nice young lady until
True.
until she got her opportunity.
True. But she was in some ways given her power.
It's true.
Which is a bit like Hedwig, actually, tying it into this. A bad thing happens to Hedwig, but in a weird way that helps them discover their power.
That's extremely true.
Again, not saying, it's fine that the bad thing happens to them.
No, not at all. Yeah, you have to discover yourself, maybe. Like, it sounds so easy to say you have to discover yourself, but like, you really do. There is a voyage.
Yeah, hopefully you can take these things and learn from them. Easier said than done, of course, but that's the goal, at least. Try that, aim for that. But yeah, we have Hedwig sleeping like a baby, and then we cut to Hansel as a child once more. And they are here as 6 years old, and they're watching the TV with their mother as they peel tomatoes. What are they doing to these tomatoes?
Delicious peeled tomatoes.
Yeah, they look. What are they making? I'm trying to work out what they could possibly be making. Some kind
I don't know.
Stewed tomato.
It occurs to me that whatever it is, they obviously make it a few times because she throws the tomatoes at little Hansel when he's in the oven. So like, this must just be Mama Hedwig's specialty.
I don't think they have a lot of options either. Is another thing. So you're eating these tomatoes 4, 5, 6 days of that week until they go stale. You're eating them. No matter what, you're having these. But there's worse things you could be eating.
Nobody likes a stale tomato.
So, yeah, they look okay.
Yeah, I love a tomato.
I do, except for some reason, I don't know whether this is nostalgia, but when I was a kid, they tasted nicer. Like now, I swear to God, now they're just like, they taste like water.
Oh.
They just pump them full of crap. They're not the same.
See, I mean, I don't know. It depends on the day because a winter tomato holds little allure to me, but in the summer when my throat is parched, a tomato might seem like the sweetest fruit. Tomatoes are not the only fruit. I'm so sorry.
That is a good point, though. Like, you got to be seasonal.
Yeah.
People have forgotten that. They just assume, I can get a nice tomato all year round. It's like, no, you shouldn't, actually.
Bitch, wait till the tomatoes are good, you barbarians.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah. Nature. Listen to Mother Nature.
Yeah.
But, Hansel is watching American Forces Network and the program Jesus Was Good. And I looked that up, hoping it was a real show. It's not.
Oh.
Alas, it's not real.
A betrayal.
A betrayal. I'm sure there's 1,000 programs just like it, though. And the network is real.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a broadcast service operated by the US Armed Forces. And in Berlin, they did have a kids' show on Saturday mornings. But it was called PLP's Workshop. So I don't know how much of a Christian element was there. I couldn't find any clips or anything. But Yeah, so they did programs for kids. It wasn't just for the army people, you know.
I guess when, like, sorry, I'm just thinking this is like, I'm on like a freeze frame of Jesus is good right now, and I guess it would be really strange if this was real, considering it has a little spindly-legged Jesus walking through the desert with a camel and a tank. Like,
why not? Time-traveling Jesus?
I mean, he was good.
How good? I mean, if you believe he's real, I imagine you probably believe he can time travel. I don't know.
Listen, let me fucking lay down some Catholic tea for you, Jonathan.
No.
So when this is gonna be so boring, but this is what I was told at a Catholic conference before I hatched into the horrible pagan monstrosity that I am today.
When you were in the womb still.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm a big believer that I am a pagan because I was Catholic.
That's weird, because my partner, also pagan, also was a Catholic.
It's because I'm going to tell you some fucking real magic shit about Jesus right now. And I know it's all a bit magic shit. But the official line is, at least within Catholicism, when Jesus died upon the cross, because he didn't just die for the sins of the people alive at the time, but for the sins of everyone who came after, that meant that he, like, you know, when they say Jesus died for our sins, as in, even yours and mine, even now, that's because when he died, Jesus became separate from linear time. He exited the timeline.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
He was good.
Yeah, no alpha, no omega. Begotten, not made, blah, blah, blah. Which means, like, so it's not exactly like he time travels, but I guess he does exist synonymous with tanks.
Yeah, there you go. So I wasn't wrong. Technically, Jesus is the first incarnation of the Doctor.
Yep, seems legit.
Yeah. We've cracked the riddle of Jesus Christ. There you go, everybody.
Checks out.
Well, Hansel seems to be getting a little too into Jesus for his mum. And she slaps him and says not to mention the name ever again. Presumably because she's in a communist state, she's quite anti-religion. I imagine that's where it comes from. But I'm not too sure. Maybe her background as well, seeing the country fall apart in the war and things like that, would probably lead you to believe there's no God anyway. You'd be very down on the concept, wouldn't you? Everything has gone to shit.
It's interesting, like, because obviously, like, the line, Jesus, but he died for our sins. So did Hitler. Like, obviously that's really funny. It's a great line. But, like, I wonder, is it that she's trying to raise I guess she's trying to raise her son without the belief in, like, without, like, faith in a savior, in an external savior. And yeah, maybe that checks out as something that comes from her surviving in such kind of rough times. And maybe it kind of connects with the reason why when they say lots of our fellow Germans ran towards America and freedom. But my mother, she put me in a wheelbarrow and went east to communism. Like, maybe there's something about her, like, not being able to see America as a savior and not believing in saviors at all. Yeah.
No, I think that's definitely the case, because where did it get them last time? Where did it get them with Adolf there in this mess? So she's probably like, yeah, screw that. That's an outdated concept. We don't need that.
Yeah,
you don't
having
need
none of that.
And also that when she says as well, you know, absolute power corrupts. Absolutely, a famous phrase I'll get to in a moment. When she says that, you know, it's kind of pointing out, you know, the corruption of the church, equating it a little bit to Hitler and the Nazis, and how, you know, that kind of power can lead you down a very dark path. Like, it's not necessarily a good outcome.
And then I feel like, better to be powerless, my son. I feel like that is something that Hedwig rails against through their whole story.
Yes.
Like, resisting being powerless.
Yeah, that's a strange message to send your child, to be honest. I'm with her to a point, and then she says that. Well, no, I don't want anyone to be powerless. That's also very bad. You need some power, at least over yourself.
I guess, maybe it doesn't mean better to be... Maybe it doesn't mean, like, it's ideal to be powerless, but it's saying it is, like, better to have absolutely nothing than to have everything.
Yeah, yeah.
And maybe that's also something that is kind of proven to be true when Hedwig gets everything that she wants.
Yes.
And has her fame and has her fortune and finds herself no more whole than when she was completely powerless and had nothing.
Yeah, in a way, it kind of doesn't get them any closer to their goal. At that point, at least. It does later in the movie. But yeah, I like all of that. That all ties it together as well with, it's a communist state, as I said. No religion is generally preached in these places. Because when the DDR, or GDR, depending on what you want to call it, different languages, was first formed, the majority of the population were Protestants. Here's my boring history degree.
No, I'm here for it.
Because initially the state was quite sort of, I don't want to say the word tolerant of religion, because that makes it, well, they put up with it. Because the church had opposed Hitler. So they kind of were like, well, we're in with the church then, because the right are our enemies. But from 52 to 60, this changed to, as they called, an intensification of the class struggle. So that it fluctuated, basically. There were ups and downs. But in general, after that point, they were quite anti-religion. They wouldn't sort of persecute religious people, but they would sort of try to keep it on the down low as much as they could. Don't promote it in any form.
Yeah. Which
is probably the way a state should act. Don't promote these things. Let people...
Yeah. Like, because we are, I don't know. It's very, if we take everything... Sorry. This is a weird thought coming out. Like, we get used to taking everything for granted for being the way it is. But if, like, we kind of step away from the idea that the way we currently live is normal, it is so strange. Like, the relationship between, like, the kind of culture in Britain in schools and in, like, and in our kind of media and our institutions and religion is so strange.
Oh, yeah.
It's all very, very surreal. It's weird that we have... It's weird that we still have a monarchy.
Oh,
and
God, yeah.
It's weird that we have a national religion. Both very, very peculiar.
Especially the national religion thing. You'd think it would just be like, well, let's not have a national religion. If you want a religion, you can find that yourself. That's fine. But the phrase as well, absolute power corrupts absolutely, I looked that up because I was like, oh, this sounds like a thing. And it is a thing. And it was the best-known quotation of the 19th century politician Lord Acton. Of course, he's a lord.
Sorry, I went straight to, famous quotation, Spider-Man. That is right where I went. And
hey, Spider-Man made it cool.
It wasn't his line. He didn't even say it. Wasn't it? With great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolute power corrupts absolutely.
It's the same,
Spider-Man.
Basically.
That's the one. Yes, famous quote.
Well, the Prime Minister as well, William Pitt the Elder, also said a similar thing in a speech in 1770. So there's a bit more... People aren't sure who did it first, kind of. He said, unlimited power is apt to corrupt the minds of those who possess it. Oh. And there's a bunch of other people who said really similar things, like French poets, a French politician who has a great name, Alphonse Marie Louis Desprats de Lamartine. That's a hell of a name. It
just rolled off the tongue, didn't it? I won't repeat it. Wouldn't like to.
Terrible French of mine. But also, better to be powerless thing. I think but that, like you said, that obviously Hedwig goes against that, and they do. But I also think initially it's kind of what harms them. Because I think it takes a lot of work and effort to break free of it, and it kind of leads Hedwig to accept all the things that are happening, as they do initially. And then they have to break free of it, and then that's what gives them their power. So Hansel's mother, it's a very strange mixed message with good and bad effects, I think. But definitely, you don't say this to a child, I think, who can't really interpret what you're saying, because they'll just see it as, oh, I'll be like meek and just do what people tell me.
But then I guess as well, like, this is like the most kind of direct parallel for this has to be, again, those gummy bears.
Yeah.
The taste was quite unlike anything I'd ever tried before. Power.
Yeah. Maybe because they've been denied power up until that point.
Yeah.
And then they're like, ooh.
And the reaction to it being like the fear followed by the absolute allure of it, like needing to go back for it. I think maybe you're right that having like the being denied it and being afraid of it is maybe what makes them fall so hard for Luther and makes them kind of take that huge risk with him.
Yeah. Which, I mean, you can't fault someone for wanting to take a risk, because when you first watch this movie, I know the introduction to Luther is a little bit weird, a guy giving out sweets. But initially, he seems nice.
Oh, yeah.
To the viewer.
He is like, I mean, we are seduced. We are Hedwig.
Yeah.
And he does seem nice. I mean, like, he's just a real, like, even now, he's not, like, the worst human being. He's not the... Is he the worst person in the film? I don't know.
In the whole movie?
Yeah, I don't think so, but...
I don't know, I'm struggling to think of another one. I mean, Tommy rivals him for what Tommy does, with the rights to the songs and stuff.
Yeah.
That could be the label, though.
Maybe they're not... Maybe it's kind of wrong to try and imagine characters in this film as being on, like, a hierarchy of best to worst.
Let's rank all the characters.
Yes. Because he definitely, like... I think Luther's kind of... It's almost like a more normal kind of horrible to, like, displace someone's entire life and then just sort of throw them away. And, like, displace their life, get them to sacrifice their body for you, and then just sort of throw them away and move on to a younger model. Like, it's a very banal, kind of boring way to ruin someone's life.
Probably quite relatable to some people. They'll have been in that position. Not of Luther,
yeah.
I hope.
Yeah. Whereas Tommy, it's a very grand and obnoxious way to ruin someone's life, but maybe also less destructive in the... I mean, but who knows? You can't really quantify things like that, can you?
No, you can't compare them to each other. They're the same but different, and it needs to be treated kind of as a separate, different thing that adds to the whole, I guess.
Yeah. Colours in the beautiful painting of life. Sorry.
All right, Bob Ross.
Happy little friend.
Hedwig here reveals that the year they were born is the same year the wall was constructed. So now we see like a definite metaphor as well, tying back to the song Tear Me Down. Because Hedwig was born kind of trapped and with the need to tear down their surroundings and everything, keeping them sort of locked away so they can be free and blossom. And sort of metaphorically, in some ways literally, physically, the wall is what's stopping them. Because they are physically trapped as well as in other ways. Because as you say, Mama Hedwig went east, got a job teaching sculpture to limbless children. That's pretty dark, but funny.
It's a very dark joke. But then, like, the children have to learn. Children, like, don't assume what children can and can't do in the arts.
That is true. That is true.
I know that that's not the joke that it's making. I know that it's giving you a very, like, at face value, here's an absurd job that my mum had to do under the communist regime.
Yeah.
But it's 2020. Those limbless children, they have a fucking right to engagement in the arts just like the rest of us.
They'll probably be a lot better than me. I'm terrible at any kind of sculpture or painting.
Sculpture, it's not easy as a...
No.
Limbs don't always help. I'll put it... Actually, they probably do. I shouldn't... No.
Mine don't. They're a tragedy. I do love the way we see the Stalin statue as well, because it always makes me think that we're supposed to believe that the kids made that. That, like, government-issued Stalin statue.
Well, I love it. I only noticed this when I was watching through this little chapter in anticipation. But I love that their little home is full of like these clay busts of Stalin.
Yeah.
That is like that Mama Hedwig has obviously made, and I love them.
I've been torn, right, going through. I can't decide if she's made them or if that's like the student's work and she has to mark it. She has to give it a grade.
Who knows? Because
Maybe
she's definitely writing when Hedwig's head is in the oven. She's definitely doing some kind of paperwork as she eats her tomatoes.
Tasty meal.
And she has got a lot of little Stalin smoking his pipe.
And as we all know, Stalin loved tomatoes. Yes.
Did love tomatoes.
True fact.
Tomatoes.
I wouldn't be surprised if he did rename them after himself. I mean, he did rename Stalingrad.
Oh, Stalin.
Well, did he rename... I think he gave the explanation of people named it after him.
Oh, that's nice. That's classy.
But I don't know. It's one of those things. Nobody knows the truth.
I think I respect being like, oh, like I'm not gonna do a Stalin accent. I'm not that guy. But I very much respect being like, oh, for me, you named it pour moi.
Moi.
Oh, don't mind if I do. Like, oh, I didn't ask them to rename it for me.
Honest.
They just did because they love me so much. Like, that's a powerful move.
So yeah, I mean, the one named after Lenin, they changed to St. Petersburg. And Stalingrad, they changed to Volgograd. I think because it's on the river Volga. But...
Okay, that checks out.
As far as I remember, Leningrad wasn't named by Lenin. It was named by people like, hey, we've had a revolution, But then I don't know why they then named Stalingrad. Because it was called that before the war? And you'd think it would be like, yay, we won the war, let's name the city after you. But no, it was already called that, so I don't know.
No, he'd already gotten his paws in there.
Yeah. Like, well, Lenin's got one, I want one.
Yeah. Don't give Lenin. What's good for the Lenin is good for the Stalingrad.
Of course. And we do see Hansel dancing in the house there, rocking out in the young pioneer outfit I brought up a couple of scenes ago. I do love that little outfit. I've bought a replica of the badge.
Oh.
And as of release of this, I am eventually going to do it, I may have put up the giveaway where you can win the Young Pioneers logo to sew onto a piece of clothing. I have it ready to go.
Oh. I am just transfixed by this little child's dancing.
That is why they went with him, basically. It's just... They just bloody loved this.
I mean, yeah.
There's a deleted version of this scene where he just dances and dances and dances and dances. Like, they've cut it down to this, but they just let him go for it.
He's just, like, I mean, this kid could have... If this film came out now, like, there would be a music video by some indie band within the next year...
Yeah.
Like, someone would have just have a music video of nothing but this boy dancing, because it is the best.
Or if it was now and it was real, this would be like a meme.
Oh, yeah, this would be all over YouTube.
Dancing boy.
His little legs. Oh, I love him.
Oh, he's cute. He looks like me when I was a kid. I looked pretty much like this. And then I put on a load of weight. Eventually losing a good chunk of it, but I think everyone goes through that kind of phase. But at this age, maybe a little bit before this, that's what I looked like.
I was gonna say when you were like, yeah, then I put on a bunch of weight, and I was gonna say, hey, you don't look that different, Jonathan. Like, I don't know how much weight you put on, but you still kind of look like that.
No, I did when I was like, let me think, 13, I think. But A, who cares, and B, fluctuation. People fluctuate.
Yeah.
I've put weight on now. To steal a quote from Adore Delano, don't you know she gains weight in the winter?
It's the winter.
I'm fattening up.
It's January.
Exactly.
You gotta stay warm.
I'm keeping the Christmas embers burning. I'm just eating and drinking what I like.
You've got to. That's how we survive.
It's how I mentally survive. I mean, screw the depressants I'm taking, you know. They don't do as much for me as ice cream and beer. And I'm joking, but I also mean that seriously. I think they help more. But that's not a healthy thing to think necessarily.
I mean, it's like, you know, some stuff, it might not be helping, but it's, you know, you're not gonna... It's like, there's some stuff that it's not gonna cure your depression, but fucking agonizing over not doing it also won't cure your depression, so you might as well drink the beer and eat the ice cream.
Exactly. Do it, people. Do it. Do it. Eat the
Have
ice
the
cream.
ice cream. Have the ice cream, kids.
Have it all.
Oh, it's winter. Just eat.
I like ice cream in the winter. People think I'm weird. It's my favourite food in the world, if you can call it food.
What's your brand? What's your brand? What's your flavour?
Right, I'm not fussy. If I'm picking, I'm going to be basic and say Ben and Jerry's. I love Ben and Jerry's.
But what flavour? Are you a fish food man? Lady? Sorry.
This is difficult. I mean, I do like it. My least favourite's probably like chocolate ice cream. I tend to like... Ben and Jerry's don't do a lot of this. I like a lot of fruit ones.
Oh, yes.
But with Ben and Jerry's, I like a lot of, say, like cookie dough and things like that. In my brain, I think I thought you were vegan. I'm vegetarian.
Vegetarian.
I do mostly eat vegan, but it's not... I haven't fully transitioned to vegan yet. I am a veggie with aims to be vegan.
An aspirational veggie.
Yeah, I try not to have dairy. I save it for a special thing, which tends to be ice cream. Like my cereal, I have oat milk and that.
Yeah, save yourself a lot of trouble. I was going to say, you've had that booja booja, haven't you?
Yes, it's lovely.
That's the good shit.
That is really nice.
Like, I am also not vegan. I am like you, I'm an aspirational vegetarian. I would even say I'm a step worse than that. I'm an aspirational pescatarian.
No
I know.
meat for me of any kind.
I know. I just really like sushi.
Oh, I like it.
You're just also a good person.
That's the thing. People always say that, like, they think I don't like the taste. No, I love the taste. That's not the issue. I don't want to kill anything.
Oh. It is the fucking hard truth is, you know, as I've said multiple times before, it's 2020. We know enough about animal intelligence that we should all be vegan. Like, minimum vegetarian. But it is, like, the morally correct.
Takes time. Like, things are changing.
We're creeping along. Those fucking, what are they called? Those sausage rolls. Whew. And the booja booja ice cream.
Hell
Whew.
yeah. The song that young Hansel is dancing to here is Freaks, performed by Girls Against Boys, a great name, who are a rock band from Washington, D.C., and they were originally a side project for one of the members of Fugazi, but he left early on, so no longer. It's a great name for a group, though, and they have a song in the damn Psycho remake, which I applaud them for, but also, no, don't be in the Psycho remake. What a shitty remake. Why bother? Shot for shot, except, you see Vince Vaughn having a wank.
Oh no, I have not seen it, but like we were talking about the Dracula earlier, like I hate I hate a remake that you just didn't need making, or an adaptation that just didn't need making.
This is literally shot for shot remake. Oh, no. Exactly shot for shot. Only difference is it's colour.
Oh,
they've given the woman, what's the character name? Marion. I can't remember the name of the character, but they've given her short hair because it's, it's cool and hip.
It's modern.
And Vince Vaughn is much less likable. Like, he seems 10,000 times too creepy from the off. You just look at him and you're like, he's a weirdo.
That's not the hustle.
Whereas in the original Psycho, you kind of like Norman Bates at first. You're like, he's a bit awkward, but... Yeah,
you sympathise a little bit. Yeah. Oh, no, I hate that. my least favorite gig is, like, I even this is not again veering away from Hedwig, but like, even though I know it's like critically acclaimed and widely loved, I hated the Watchmen film.
Oh, see, I like it, but most people I know hate it, so I'm in the minority. I thought
I love the comic, but I just think what works panel for panel in a comic book does not adapt into a good film if you do it shot for shot, line for line, exactly the same, which they did. It's like, it's the most faithful adaptation I've ever seen, and I think it's rubbish.
except for the very end where they decide to change everything, probably for the better. But it's also a bit weird that if you're going to change stuff, you only change one thing at the end. Like, there's not going to be a squid, there's going to be a nuke. Oh, okay.
My terrible shame. I didn't make it to the end. I think I tried to watch it twice, and I think I fell asleep both times.
Oh, well, you won't like the end then, because it's the only difference is at the very end, there's no giant squid attacking things.
Oh, the betrayal. The betrayal.
You might like the show.
Oh, I've watched the first episode of the show. Early days, but I am tentatively very excited.
I've seen the first 3, and I'm enjoying it. But Lol's very confused because she doesn't remember the movie. It's more a sequel to the book, but she also has never read the book. So we're gonna have to rewatch the movie to refresh her before we go.
to educate her.
This is full of squid stuff, though. So Hansel's mum then makes them play in the oven as the apartment is so small. So I kind of just think this is a sort of way of getting rid of him, of getting him out of the way. Like, you go over there. Like, I don't have to deal with you. Because Hedwig's mum doesn't seem... I don't mean it in a nasty way, but they don't seem to really be very maternal. There's not that much of a closeness between these two, is there?
No, but then I guess she's a survivor, isn't she?
Yeah.
And she's like, this kid has to go somewhere. It's like... It's such a morbid kind of image, this little child listening to his radio in the oven. But like there's no like hostility there, I don't think. Like, he's laying on the oven door on his little mat.
It's a realistic small home, I think. Like, in movies and stuff, it tends to be... They go on about how they're poor and it's a small house and it'll be massive to get the cameras in. But in this, it looks small. It looks real. I like that.
And I love that, I don't know if... I wonder about... I kind of thought this when we were looking at Jesus is good, or Jesus was good. Like, I wonder how much of what we see in these sections is supposed to be what their home was actually like, and how much of it is, like, filtered through Hedwig's memories.
Oh,
like,
definitely. I think it's a memory thing, because... I mean, just the whole look of these scenes. I know that it's got that filter on, so it looks kind of drab and dreary and cold. And that might be kind of a little bit literal, but also, that's how Hedwig is remembering it. You don't remember things exactly as is.
And I love the memory of, like, the image that they have of, like, their head in the oven and the oven just being covered in, like, these cutouts from American magazines and, like, Yogi Bear stickers, and between shots they change. So in the shot where it's Hedwig, or where it's little baby Hansel, there's a big beautiful blonde woman stuck to the back wall of the oven, and then in the next shot where it's Hedwig, it's Cheap Thrills, and I wonder if, like, is this like the fantasy of, like, is this just like what was going through Hansel's head while he was in the oven, like all of these pop culture images flashing into his head?
I think so. Coming through the radio, almost literally.
Yeah, and that's why the image of them keeps changing with the songs and with what he's talking about.
Definitely, because presumably these can't actually be up in the oven. They're using this oven.
They eat a lot of tomatoes. It looks like they use a lot of... I mean, who knows how much gas they have? A lot of cold food.
Yeah, I think this is what is coming into their mind and then back out again into the world. Yeah, definitely, because there's Bowie there, isn't there, on the left? Looks like Bowie. Well, speaking of that, yeah, first we see Hedwig in the oven, not Hansel, and the outfit is genius, right? Because they are wearing the uniform here. It's very hard to see, but the uniform of the Freie Deutsche Jugend, which is what the younger pioneers would switch to as they got older. So you'd be a young pioneer wearing that thing that Hansel has, and then as you sort of get to your teenage years, you would be in the Freie Deutsche Jugend, which is this, which I thought was very clever switch, very subtle.
That's what Hedwig's wearing.
Which is kind of only noticeable by that tiny little bit of arm patch you can see there. But Hedwig in the oven, as you mentioned, is listening to the radio and the voices of the American masters, which is a double meaning I thought was quite good, because both masters of music and masters of their country.
Oh, yeah.
Because this part of Germany is not just defended by America. It basically is. It is America. They don't want it to be necessarily, but
it is, yeah.
Well, the bit over the wall, I meant to say. I messed that up, didn't I? Jesus.
That's all right. But
you know what I mean.
I know what you mean. Like, they are occupying Germany.
They are literally just over there, kind of thing. And Hedwig sees them as very powerful and very strong, but also kind of aspirational. They have all this culture. They have all this music, all these interesting things. Because they mention Tony Tennille from Captain and Tennille, known for the song Love Will Keep Us Together. They also mention Debbie Boone, who's known for You Light Up My Life. You can just check all these out after the show, people. And Anne Murray, known for the song Snowbird.
Oh, very lovely.
But then the exciting bit. Then there were the crypto homo rockers.
I mean, that is where my musical education began, at the crypto homo rockers.
Yeah, because they mentioned Lou Reed, Iggy Pop, and of course David Bowie. I mean, they're always thought of as a little trio anyway, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, there's that gorgeous photograph of the three of them that I think just stayed in the imagination of everyone for all of time.
I'm going to pick a song of pretty much all of these at the end of the episode, I reckon, for the Spotify playlist.
Good choice. Good choice.
All of these, I love them. I love them. I love them. Bowie especially, I know, okay, problematic in some ways. We have to bring that up.
Yeah, I think it's difficult, isn't it? Because I am a huge Lou Reed fan. I know that he was a fucking problematic man. I don't think that he was a perfect person. I don't even know that, he was a celebrity. I don't even know if he was a good person. But, I think I kind of talked about this with Amanda Palmer the last time you let me talk on this. When you're a rotten little... because, again, I was into Lou Reed before, very, very young.
Oh.
Under the age of 10.
Oh, my God. I didn't discover him till... Oh, Jesus. 18, maybe?
My parents loved the crypto homo rockers.
Oh, good start.
Yeah, so they we would listen to Lou Reed in the car, and listen to David Bowie in the car. But as a rotten little child, I was a massive Lou Reed fan, and as I kind of started to get my taste in music, Lou Reed had all these songs about cross-dressing.
Yes.
which spoke to me, and he was a crypto homo rocker.
Hell yeah.
And when I was 14 maybe, he did a UK tour of The Raven, which was him doing a load of Edgar Allan Poe poems, singing some of them, reading some of them, and he was on tour with Anthony and the Johnsons. And it was the first artist that I ever went to see live. It was the first concert that I ever was like, Mum, Dad, I want to go see Lou Reed's on tour.
That's a really good first one.
Yeah, it was a good one. But again, he is I am not gonna, he's a fucking flawed person. I'm not gonna say that he's a hero, but for me as a kid, he was some of my first exposure to the ideas of trans people and the ideas of gender being flexible in Walk on the Wild Side.
Yes.
And as a little 14-year-old, seeing Anthony and the Johnsons open forum was like probably the first trans artist that I ever saw. And just these, someone can be problematic and can have been a questionable person or a bad person and still have had like a colossal impact on.
Oh, yeah. People are multifaceted.
Yeah.
People are good, people are bad. You can like some things about them, dislike other things about them. Obviously, there are limits to this.
Yeah, and like, your heroes can have feet of clay, and that doesn't mean you have to kind of, it's. I feel like before cancel, kind of everyone being cancelled was like a massive thing. We used to say like, your fave is problematic, like
yes, yeah.
But it was like a big thing. You gotta acknowledge how like you cannot. Or we used to kind of say, there is nothing in mass media at the moment that will not be problematic.
Exactly. Like, I love Bowie. I've got a Bowie tattoo. And, I accept that. I love the Sex Pistols. Johnny Rotten, John Lydon, he can be an interesting man.
People have done some shit.
Yeah. So, up until a point, I will cut people a bit of slack. But,
yeah,
I do understand, like, one of my good friends, Niall, he is having a lot of problems, I think, with Morrissey. Because the Smiths are his favourite.
Yeah.
And even, like, he's like, oh, I love the Smiths. He's like, Morrissey's a fucking arsehole.
And Morrissey hasn't even had the decency to die. Like, because, like, it's, I think, it's one thing with like, Lou Reed and David Bowie, because, like, it's not like... they can it's not like either of them can mend their ways. It's not like they can apologize or acknowledge that like they've done things wrong or they should have changed. It's not like they can kind of it's not like they can change their legacy. But Morrissey, he's not dead and he just keeps going.
he keeps making it worse and worse each week.
Oh, he just keeps going.
Oh god, oh dear.
Thank God he's not as good as Lou Reed and David Bowie. Then it might be a...
See, I agree. The Smiths are fine. I like some of the stuff. I like Meat is Murder. That's a good song, obviously. I'll identify with that. But, I mean, compared to David Bowie, come on.
Nah.
I've got, like, pretty much every Bowie album on vinyl now, I think.
Oh, you...
Pretty much.
You fancy hipster. I'm here for it.
Oh, yes, my vinyl collection was... I have the Hedwig soundtrack on vinyl, but the Broadway one with Neil Patrick Harris.
I'm no vinyl snob. I'll support it. I'll permit it.
I like the expense and inconvenience of vinyl, you see. There's an allure to it.
Anything for the drama. I support
having to get up every 15 minutes to change sides is fantastic. I love it. But yes, so the oven rack. I love this line about it as well. These artists left as deep an impression on me as that oven rack did on my face. Which I love that it's funny, but they're also wrong because they have a cushion. But again, it might not be real. This is a dream.
Yeah, this is the fantasy memory, and I guess it's what we've just been talking about, isn't it? That deep impression. Also, I love so much like little baby Hansel singing along with the moments where it cuts back from Hedwig kind of being lost in this memory to Hansel's mother looking down at them, like singing in this little child voice in the oven. Oh, it's so charming.
Oh, it is cute. And I love the way she just has enough of this, like this annoying singing and flings the tomato. Is it the tomato or the skin?
I think it's the whole tomato that time.
It is, I think, yeah. Take a walk on the wild side.
And a snack for a child.
Maybe that's what it is. Like, here's your tea. Here's your dinner. Have this.
I wonder, like, watching that moment where she's just like, okay, I've had enough of it, and, like, throws the tomato. I wonder, like, how much Hedwig's mother, or Hansel's mother, I wonder how much she kind of was conscious of, like, the content of that song.
Oh,
Like,
not at all.
Do you think not at all?
Yeah, I think not at all. I don't think she has a clue. She has no interest in this. She's never engaged with them with music, I don't think. Like my dad. Never once talked to me about music.
I wondered, like, I think I only wondered this, like, in one of the more recent watch-throughs. Like, I wondered if that throwing the tomato in answer to take a walk on the wild side was a bit of, like, no, don't.
Don't
but,
be
like,
doing that.
But she never pulls them out of the oven. But I wondered. I wonder if there's, like, a little bit of it that's, like, creeping through and she can recognise.
On one hand, I could see maybe, yeah, I could read that into it.
Yeah.
But when Hansel becomes Hedwig later, the original Hedwig, the mother, doesn't seem to care, or she's not that surprised at least. So I suppose that kind of does work for and against what you're saying, because maybe she's just used to it by this point.
Yeah. I think that was maybe what I wondered. Like, if that little scene where she throws the tomato is like one of those moments where, like, she realizes kind of for the first time that what her son is doing with his head in the oven is, like, opening up to this world that's, like, a portent of who he's gonna be.
Yeah, living their best life right here in the oven.
Living it up in the oven.
Hell yeah, I approve.
Yeah, I love her. It's very cute. I wonder if that is, like, for her a moment of, like, that was when you realised your child was going to be, or if it's just, oh god, shut up, that singing.
It could be, because I think even parents who are kind of who don't understand eventually come round to at least just accept it.
Oh yeah,
I didn't get on with my parents, well, my dad, for years and years and years and years, and now he seems to just be like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
He seems much more chill.
It's a process, isn't it? And I think that especially in, like, in the 80s in East Berlin, you can imagine her not being, like, it's probably not the life that you are kind of hoping that your child would have, but that doesn't necessarily mean that, like, you're opposed to them being that person. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's just something. There's never going to be, like, a solid, yes, when I threw that tomato I was thinking, no child of mine, like, we're never going to get that. It's just something that you can project idly.
This whole thing is also like the formation, kind of the beginnings of Hedwig the rock star. Like, long before it was ever a real solid thing in their mind. It's laying the groundwork. Because they're already sort of creating a unique personality, of, like, rebellion, individuality, just being themselves. That's coming through at quite a young age here. That's good. But the tomato thing, like, that's a theme we see quite a few times. Fruit.
Yes.
Especially tomatoes, because we see later on tomatoes used as breasts.
And they threw tomatoes at me, and after the show we made a salad.
I wonder what that's about. I couldn't figure it out. I racked my brain and, like, what's specifically the tomato? I don't know if there is a deep meaning.
No, I don't. I mean, maybe...
Could just be a personal thing. Maybe John Cameron Mitchell just likes tomatoes.
Yeah, maybe it's just like I don't know. It's a fleshy kind of It's weird that, like, because it's definitely a recurring image, but maybe it's like, I wonder if it is rooted in something that, like, it might be rooted in something really, like a real deep cut. Like, maybe tomatoes really were, like, one of the few fresh vegetables they could get in East Berlin at the time, or something. I don't know.
It could just be something like that, couldn't it? Yeah. I was trying to think of, like, a more, like, a philosophical, like, a gender kind of thing, but I couldn't come up with anything.
Yeah.
I mean, you described it as fleshy. I mean, maybe it's something to do with being malleable. Or,
yeah.
I don't know.
And maybe it is just that, like, this is a childhood kind of motif that is, like, maybe it's like, oh, Hedwig's mother preparing tomatoes, the original Hedwig preparing tomatoes, and then for the rest of their life this motif of, like, childhood remains. But I don't know, it's a funny one. It's tomatoes are not the only fruit.
when they have tomato breasts, I suppose you could say it's to represent a connection to their mother. Because in Angry Inch, they say, my mother made my tits out of clay.
Yeah.
As if to imply like they made them kind of like, I don't know, what was it? A breastplate.
She was a sculpture, yeah. She was a sculptor.
So maybe it's just illustrative of their mother, but then what would the throwing tomatoes at them in that? I don't know.
Just a very maternal audience.
If you listeners know, write in, because we've tried to figure it out.
Yeah. Give us engagement.
It's great
Send
either
us
way.
Like, comment, and subscribe. Throw a comment down below. Tell us what you think of the tomatoes.
You know the shtick. I need to throw in some ads as well.
Oh, yeah.
So let me tell you about Casper mattresses.
Listen.
Squarespace.
What illegal things have you been Googling lately? What horrible porn have you been looking at? Maybe you need NordVPN.
I am always suspicious of people who need a VPN, because, like, I've torrented files and I've never been caught. So what is it you're doing that needs the VPN?
I mean, I am starting to think that we all need a VPN because, holy shit, our data is just... it's just terrifying. Like,
I'm of the opinion, like, I've got my Echo and stuff, and people are like, oh, that's unsafe. And I'm like, of the opinion... If people want my data, they're getting my data. There's no stopping it. Like, if the government want to listen to my phone, they're going to do it.
I think it's not so much the government. It's, have you watched that The Great Hack?
No, I've heard of it.
Oh, it's horrible. It's fucking horrible. But, like, it is much less the government and much more Facebook.
Facebook are very suspect, and apparently Google are. Oof. Like, according to, was it one of their founders or one of their former sort of chief people?
Former execs, yeah. They had one rule and it was don't be evil, and they've broken it.
I love the way that needed to be stated as the rule.
Yeah.
And I suppose in a capitalist society that needs to be stated. Don't be evil.
Well, like, I mean, the story was like that at first they were just doing all these very vague, we shall always treat our employees with fairness and respect and blah, 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 and they were doing a load of corporate speak. And then one of them was like, you know what? Let's keep it simple. Don't, like, we all know right from wrong. Don't be evil. And it was extremely telling when they changed their fucking... when they changed the... like, a few years ago, they changed the whole manifesto from... just don't be evil to a bunch of corporate speak, and it was like, oh,
they changed it to be evil.
Someone's fixing to be evil.
Well, something that's not evil is we then cut to a gig that the band is at. The Menses Fair.
The Menses Fair.
A celebration of women and music, which the name is genius.
I love it. I love the whole aesthetic.
When I first watched this movie, even knowing what the word meant, I never caught on to the joke in the name. I think I wasn't looking for it.
Yeah. And I think when I was, like, I mean, again, I think I said this last time we spoke, I watched this film when I was much younger than I think most people watch these films. And I absolutely did not get this. I was just like, oh, it's a nice feminist... It's a nice music festival.
That's what I thought, like WOMAD, is it?
Yeah, like it's a hippie festival. Like I just love it.
Well, my favourite thing about it as well, I've always wondered about this. Right, we see the band are set up by the toilets here. Now, I've always thought this isn't a real stage. Like, look at it. Have they just made this themselves and took it there and set it up? Pretending to be the 9th stage.
So my fantasy of Menses Fair is that this is like a very traditional second wave feminist lesbian kind of festival, which you would expect to be a boilerplate of TERFs, but it's not.
I was going to say that, but didn't want to annoy anyone.
Like, that's why... Well, I think that's why I like it, because it is such a obvious like they're really alluding to like a very kind of old school kind of DIY lesbian like kind of stereotype of like, yeah, there's a bunch of butchers playing the guitar around a campfire.
Well, the only other person you see other than this one fan is this butch coming out of the toilet.
Yes. And it's obviously kind of playing a bunch of stereotypes, and that none of these people have any interest in Hedwig. But I think it's very funny. I think it's like, and I think because there's an implication that they've booked Hedwig, like that they've given her a stage, they've presumably paid her. It just so happens that there's only one goth at the Menses Fair.
So even if it is a real stage, it's kind of like, well, you go over there.
Yeah, they've put them on the absolute outermost, like they've put them on the smallest, most distant, shittiest stage, and the only person other than their one fan just comes out of the toilets and walks away completely disinterested. But
I love them though.
I love them, and I still love like Double Denim.
Hell yeah.
It just makes me really happy. It's just it's a funny scene. It fills me with joy. Because, like, we don't see... I mean, do we see Hedwig get booked by an actual gay bar at any point in this film?
No, never.
Never.
It's basically... almost always in Bilgewater's, in the restaurant in the back, you know. They never play it somewhere that would actually maybe accept them, which I think is a deliberate choice. They could maybe play gay bars. They could maybe play like drag clubs or something, which is where the character began, obviously.
Yeah.
But they're not seeking those venues out, maybe deliberately. As well, because they, on top of the fact that they almost like the punishment, but also because they maybe feel they don't fit in there.
Yeah. Well, I guess because I guess she's not a... Like, I wonder if, like, a celebration of women and music, it makes sense for Hedwig to play at a celebration of women and music. Although their gender is complicated, like, they are kind of female presenting, feminine presenting.
Well, they're both, at this point, feminine presenting and using female pronouns.
Using female pronouns. That's it. So, like... Yeah, I think it's interesting that this is like kind of the closest to, I mean, like it's closest to like a kind of a queer venue that they get, like or a kind of the closest it gets to a venue that is like some way aligned with them politically, and they're still clearly not the target audience.
Yeah, they're still on the outskirts. They're an outsider looking in. So I think we've touched on the point there, maybe.
Yeah.
Like they're even people who you these days would sort of assume they'd be playing to and hanging out with and whatnot. Even they're excluding them in a way.
And I like that they got booked. I like my fantasy that like even if none of these kind of, because it's a very like Menses, it's a very like gender essentialist-y kind of vibe. But I like that they still booked a kind of, I know, like talking about Hedwig as a trans woman is reductive, but even if no one comes to the stage, I like that they paid that bitch.
Hell yeah. And if there's one person, you play to that one.
Yeah.
And speaking of the person at the stage, we see the fan here, who is credited as Goth Menses Boy. And when I first saw this movie, I was like always wonderfully confused by their gender, like back in the day. And I think that kind of, it's one of the characters that helped me solidify my sexuality. I didn't care. I just thought they were cute. Because I was like, is it a man? Is it a woman? And then I eventually was like, oh, it doesn't really matter, does it? They're cute.
Yeah, they're very cute. And I feel like there's something lovely about their kind of I think like the image of them as well, like kind of standing alone under their umbrella with no one else at the stage, like obviously transfixed. And the amount that they relate to Hedwig when she says, I was 26, never kissed a boy. Like, you get the sense that, like, they are like, they don't know where they fit either, maybe.
Yes,
like, or
definitely.
they are in the process of figuring it out.
Yeah, they really identify with that line, especially. And they also have amazing... let's take it shallow. They have amazing fashion, as does Hedwig. That outfit, the sleeves, the pants.
That's true.
Hedwig. Oh, my God.
Oh, like... the rose-tinted sunglasses and
beautiful.
the sequin skirt.
And this wig, it's a very different wig, this. I love it. Totally different look. You don't see a similar one throughout the movie, really.
And, like, the makeup's actually very subtle. Maybe it's not under those sunglasses, but, like, the lip, the soft hair, all very peaches.
And it suits them. They really pull it off.
Oh, stunning.
Because in some scenes, like in like The Origin of Love and stuff, their makeup it's quite over the top and rock and roll and in your face and almost like a kind of drag makeup. Whereas this is like very natural.
Yeah, they are very like Hedwig. I always think of them in like jewel tones, like bright blue eye makeup, bright red lipstick.
Yeah,
but this is very like as this like very day drag, very like naturalistic, feminine, soft.
Yeah, I love it as well. I think it suits John Cameron Mitchell loads.
Oh, absolutely stunning. But also the complete opposite of Menzies Goth Boy. Menzies Boy Goth.
Which is interesting that I'm going to say he, just because boy is in the name, I don't know. But it's interesting that he is drawn to Hedwig and seems really like enamoured with him instantly. Considering how, you know, when I was a young goth, I'd have been like, who's this wearing all the bright colours or whatever? I'm not looking at them. I was a miserable piece of shit.
Oh, no, same. Goth seek goth. But no, I love how transfixed they are by her.
And one of my favourite lines in the whole movie comes here as well, where Hedwig says, "One day in the late mid-80s, I was in my early late 20s."
Yes.
You have to really think about it. It slips by some people. And I love using that kind of thing all the time. Like, yes, I am in my, I don't know, I used to say my early late 20s, actually, was the exact line I would use.
Early late 20s? No, well, I love it. And I used to catch... I was in my early late 20s, which I thought was very funny, but I didn't catch it paired with in the late mid-80s. I was in my early late 20s.
It's the double thing. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. It's beautiful.
There's another joke that I didn't get for years because I was a stupid kid. Is Hedwig says they were dismissed from university after their lecture on the aggressive influence of German philosophy on rock and roll, with the title, You can't always get what you want.
A masterpiece.
It's a masterpiece. Because when I first heard that, I didn't know who Kant was, and I didn't really know most Rolling Stones songs, so I was just like, what? But now, I'm like laughing my ass off.
It's like, and I love it. It's such a fucking, it's like, it is like the most aggressively set up. It's like when you really have to fucking work to construct a pun.
Yeah.
Like, you had to reach for that one, girl. But I love it and I'm here for it.
Well, watching this movie did make me look into Immanuel Kant. And we won't go too into it because it's heady stuff, it's deep, you know. But he had a doctrine of transcendental idealism, which argued that space, time, and causation are mere sensibilities, which is things in themselves. You know, they exist, but their nature is unknowable. Like, they're there, but, yeah, fuck it. You can't know them, you can't understand them.
See, my fact that I know about Kant is he could only go to the toilet according to a very strict schedule.
Oh, okay. Like literally on the hour, kind of like, right?
Oh yeah, he was a stringent timekeeper. Had to schedule his poos, schedule his wheeze.
I think that becomes like your body's trained rather than anything else, because when I'm at work, I have to go at 9:30.
Yeah, well, you gotta poo on company time.
Oh, you never have a shit on your own time. No, don't have it when you're on your lunch. That's criminal.
My heart aches for people who are like, oh no, I can't, I have to be at home if I want to poo, because they're never getting paid for a single poo in their life unless they work from home.
You need to fuck the system.
That's it. You know, poo, wee, get a little cup of water, get lost in a cupboard for a bit. Sorry.
Yep. Go top up the stationery.
But I guess what's nice for Kant is, as a philosopher, he was always pooing on company time.
Yeah, no. Does that count when you're a philosopher? Because that's your time.
Yeah, but like, I guess he would just have to tell himself, well, from the hours of 10 a.m. till 4 p.m, I'll do nothing but philosophy. Then he'd have to like really just fit in all his poos in there. Just have to lie to yourself.
Schedule all of them in. Every single one of them. Insert sound of toilet flush here. I might do that genuinely.
More ASMR. Do it. Bring us that.
Toilet, yeah.
ASMR.
I wonder why Hedwig was dismissed from university as well. They never really go into it, do they? Like, did they not like this this writing they did, or like what is it?
Maybe it was too brazen a joke.
Maybe. I suppose. Is it? I'm trying to think if Kant has any kind of connection to anything that's un-Marxist. Maybe they didn't like the doctrine they were going with, Hedwig, and were like, you can't preach that here.
I guess like that.
Actually, yeah. Hang on. Thinking about it, this is the first time I've ever thought about it, so I could be wrong here. But it would be an un-Marxist philosophy, because the whole point of Marxism is to treat it as a science. So you analyse the world and the workings of the world in a scientific manner. So if you're saying that these things are unknowable, you're kind of saying that's wrong, I guess.
I think I sort of... this is like the fucking lazy man's reading, but I think I always thought, because it's such a fucking constructed joke, I thought Hedwig's written this amazing joke for him.
Not even real.
I definitely... Yeah, I absolutely thought she was kicked out of university for who knows what reason. Probably...
Could be anything.
Yeah. Like, maybe it is because she, like, was referencing... American rock instead of like academic subjects, and it was too far out there for her tutors or whosoever. But like, I think I always kind of assumed that she just thought of this awful joke.
I like that. That theory is even funnier to me.
Like that she was thrown out for some completely banal. Like she just didn't show up. And then in the retelling of her story, she thought of this awful joke and was like, yes, that's what I'm going to say on stage.
I love that.
Like, that's my read of it, but...
Well, Hedwig as well says that their other half might actually be found beyond the wall, because they're talking all about this. So in a way, I'd say that's kind of like beyond their own experiences, further afield from what they know. It's kind of illustrative of that. The wall works... so well as metaphors for like everything. But then we get another piece of building work, let's say, because we then hear how they were lying there sunning themselves on a piece of broken church, and we get an ass shot. That's what you're all here for.
The booty. And this is such a beautiful, like, this is such a stunning like sequence.
And it looks like a painting again, I think.
Yeah, it is absolutely... I just love it. I love it. I love them. I love the image of them face down on the... I love the way that they very slowly come into focus. almost as if it's like, and the way that as they're describing it, Menzies goth boy kind of turns to stare off into the distance.
As if looking at it.
Yeah, or as if, like, as it's becoming kind of clear in this image, like, that's him, like, conjuring the image of Hedwig naked face down.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
as if this is, like, a fantasy of this image. And I love that you can see the wreckage of the church under them. It's just so gorgeous.
It's beautiful, isn't it? Yeah. And Berlin did have still a lot of things like this. So it's not... I know it might be like, oh, it's the 80s. Shouldn't this all be cleaned up? No. You know, fixing a war is a tough business.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't a normal war.
Yeah. And I guess the wall especially, like, that was still... Obviously, when people went over, people died going over it, so there was, like, the combat was still in kind of progress, kind of. I mean, not the combat exactly, but, like...
Well, hostilities were still there, though, in
yeah.
a way.
Like, so you're not gonna be undertaking any major building work right next to the Berlin Wall, I don't think.
Oh no, I would imagine that would raise suspicions quite quickly. And as you say, though, they are right next to the wall. It's an interesting place to decide to sun yourself. And we see above the wall that the West have a McDonald's right next to the wall, almost as a taunt.
The fragrant westerly breeze, stunning.
It's like, screw you, look at our capitalist ways. Smell our burger.
Smell our burger. Smell our fragrant westerly breeze. Like, and there's so much, like, longing for... Like, that scene makes me wonder if, like, Luther was just an excuse. Like, a little bit. And
Maybe, yeah.
Or, like, I mean, it's maybe not... Maybe to say that Luther was just an excuse is kind of to say too much, but, like... when she talks about, like, her fantasy that maybe her lover is on the other side of that wall, like, she's just been thrown out of college. She's never kissed a boy. She's still sleeping with her mother. Like, there is nothing in Berlin for her.
Yeah, and we've already seen how much they idolize certain Western things, like music and freedoms and all that. And I suppose Luther kind of embodies this. So not necessarily an excuse, but he sort of maybe completes the puzzle. Like, oh, this makes perfect sense then. So that would make you sort of fall for them easier.
Absolutely. Just, like, seeing, like, even in that scene, like, where she's laying there, like, smelling the fruits of another garden, smelling the McDonald's breeze. It's like, she's just ready for, like she says, God damn it, she deserves a break. They are just ready for someone to kind of, to invite them into this other world.
Yes.
Oh, it
almost seems like, in a way, they've conjured Luther. That their need of him has created him, almost.
Well, as you say, sunning themselves right beside the Berlin Wall, like in the wreckage of this church, like, it's such poetry. Like, it's such a hazy, dreamlike moment, and it's so, like, embedded in, like, it feels like such a fantasy. It's almost like romantic kind of fairy tale kind of idea that you're just, like, laying there dreaming of this other world, and then, like, a knight comes to take you there.
Who they assume at the time, oh, just so happens to be the one as well. Oh, it's all perfect. Everything's coming together.
He wants to marry me, mother.
I love that delivery. I can't wait to get to that.
It's so
Get
good.
me the hell out of here.
It's so good. It's such a...
But that is the end of the chapter, so I will do my little section I do now, Nostalgia, where I talk about nostalgia for the East.
Oh, lovely.
So I did a bit of historical research, and I found that for East German women, there was a feminist movement of sorts. So I thought, this is all about women and East Germany, so I connected the two things.
Yeah.
So it was along the lines of sort of Marxist feminism, and there was a comprehensive system introduced to help women into work, because they thought the patriarchy is a result of capitalism. So they introduced quotas for working women in industry. So you have to have a certain amount of women on your staff, as well as laws protecting working mothers and supplying childcare. So that's quite progressive in some ways.
Yeah, that's that's wild.
That's the thing, when people talk about this nostalgia thing, it's because there were good things about East Germany that people miss. Like, that's the thing. There were very bad things and there were very good things. Because in 1990, 90% of women were employed, compared to 55% in the West.
Well, even now, like, this kind of, I mean, I know this is, like, maybe an obvious thing to say, but, like, the ways that kind of, like, for a government to kind of put an actual emphasis on protecting women, like, who are going to have children, or who, like, after having children, like, in most Western countries, I would say we've passed laws to sort of protect that, but it's without it being in the kind of without it being high in people's consciousness that actually matters or is important.
Yeah.
Companies find fucking workarounds.
Oh, like, they always have little loopholes, don't they?
Oh, and they find ways to make it inconvenient and more difficult, and even if legally they're not forcing anyone out of work, like, they might structure all your shifts in a way that is, like, impossible for you to maintain, or make it difficult for people to access flexible working.
It's like a subtle aggression.
Yeah, because at its core, it's true that, like, there is, like, at its core, capitalism wants us to believe that there are no barriers to anyone doing anything so that it can justify itself as a fair system.
That's the dream.
Exactly. And, like, I'm certainly not saying that East Berlin was a perfect system, but, like, having, like, a kind of central understanding of the fact that capitalism isn't a fair system and that there are injustices that need to be addressed means that some of them are actually going to get addressed, instead of us just saying, well, we'll make it illegal to be bad and then everyone will just be good.
Yeah, they actually sort of try and find the root of the problem, which I think maybe we can learn from today. There are good lessons to take away.
Oh, definitely.
Because, for instance, I know East Germany it's very poor now because the industry was all sort of destroyed after they reunited and whatnot. But
twinsies.
The gender pay gap is still significantly different. Because the gender pay gap, there's only an 8% difference in eastern part of Germany, whereas in the western part, 23% pay difference.
That's fascinating.
So it's a poor place, but it's got more equality in some ways. So it's interesting to look at, yeah.
That's fascinating.
Me with my figures like I know maths.
No, I love it. A perfect storm. History, economics, Hedwig.
Hell yeah. These things all do tie together. That's why I find it fascinating. It's such a cool period and era to set this in. It's very different.
Oh, it's some good shit. It's the good shit.
The other movie I can think of around this era that I've seen is Goodbye Lenin, which is an amazing German movie. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't.
Oh my god, it's great. It's about a guy who his mother goes into hospital, and when she wakes up, she's missed the falling of the wall. Basically, she's missed the whole thing. But she's an ardent communist, so he lies to her that nothing's happened and tries to maintain the illusion that everything's the same. It's fascinating. It's a comedy as well.
Oh, that sounds great. That sounds really good.
It is. It's such a good movie. I'll send you a trailer, and I'll post a trailer on the Hedwig page when this comes out.
Please.
But do you have anything to say about anything in this chapter or the Menses Fair before we get on to the last bit? Because I know you love that Menses Fair.
I do love that Menses Fair. But I think anything I could say, I said before, we could be here all night, Jonathan.
I know, look how long it's running already.
we've got a life to live. You've got places to be. It's been 2.5 hours. Let's carry on.
Well, we'll get to music recommendations now to wrap up the episode. I've got two because I'm a narcissist, so I'll do one and I'll go to you. So my first one,
baby.
I've got to recommend the Crypto Homo Rockers, right? So my first one was David Bowie's Hang On To Yourself, which I thought it's a great song. It's from a good era. I could imagine Hansel listening to it. So I've gone with that one. That's literally the only connection. And it doesn't get much better with my second one. What is your recommendation?
Let's have your second one first. Because then I can do a Crypto Homo Rocker that you've not planned.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I've only done one more, yes. I picked Iggy Pop with Neighborhood Threat.
Then I'm gonna fill in the trilogy. I'm gonna do a Lou Reed. And I am gonna go with My Friend George. I think it's probably I don't fucking know what. I don't know when it's from. It's just a really weird good song.
That is a good one. That's a great choice.
It's a banger, yeah. So yeah, that's what I'm throwing in there.
Neighborhood Threat is from the album Lust for Life. So that is part of his Berlin records with David Bowie. So that is why I picked that one. It came out in 1977, so it hasn't got like an era kind of tied to this, but yeah, it's his second one with Bowie. It's a bit less experimental, more rock and roll kind of thing, you know.
That's a great choice. I could have gone more thematic than My Friend George now that you said Berlin, but now
hey, you don't have to.
It.
Only I have to do that. You just pick something cool. Now, I love this song. This is probably my favourite on the album. I actually don't really like the song Lust for Life. Is that controversial? It could just be because it's so fucking overplayed, though.
Yeah, it's a good one, but I am at the point where I associate it more with adverts than with actual, like, rock.
Exactly. I'm sure when it came out, it was like, oh my fucking God, this is great. You know?
Yeah, like it's there's a reason why they put it on all those adverts, but unfortunately it means that now when I hear it, I think of, like, travel agents.
Yeah, exactly.
I
mean, when I first heard it, obviously because I'm too young to have heard it when it came out, it probably would have been when it was on Trainspotting, the movie, which of course is a world away from adverts. It still has that sort of dangerous punk edge to it.
Still very punk.
But now it'll be on like a bank ad.
Yeah.
But he did record it at a studio by the wall as well. Hansa Studio, which is located by the Berlin Wall. On Kurthenerstrasse, number 38.
See, you are born to podcast, John Fern. Like, queen of trivia, queen of relevant trivia. I love it.
It's all boring to everyone but me. But I thought that was fascinating.
Great.
Yeah, because we have Hansel / Hedwig. I never know what to call them when they're like grown up but not yet Hedwig. So but we have them by the wall, so that gave me the little connection there.
That's beautiful. I love it. Aww. Well, thank you so much again for having me. Thank you for letting me ramble about my favourite bit. Thank you for taking me to the Menses Fair.
How could I not? You love that Menses Fair so damn much.
Let me in the Menses Fair.
We'll put on our own Menses Fair, and
with the two Menses goth boys.
I don't know how that would go down though. It does have a turfy element to it though. I don't know.
It's got such a turfy. I think that's why I love that Hedwig's in there, because
subverting
it feels like because if they had the Menses Fair in 2020, they would not book Hedwig.
Oh no. Well, we'll do our own Menses Fair and make it cool.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Get our own Menses with hookers and blackjack.
Yeah. In fact, forget the blackjack. But if our listeners want to get in touch with you or check out your wonderful looks and whatnot, where can they find you?
I am on Instagram at Conway with 7 A's, CONWAAAAAA. I think that's right. And then Y at the end. And, you know, I'm on Facebook, but don't add me on Facebook. I won't accept.
I don't blame you.
Yeah, I won't follow you back on Facebook, but I will on Instagram.
Yeah, if you become friends on Instagram, this is my rule, then you progress to the Facebook one.
That's it. You can lure me in.
Instagram's the testing ground for friendship.
That's it, because we can just look at each other and I can confirm that you're a real human being and that you are not... You're not just, 4chan. You aren't 4chan. You're not just sniffing around trying to get my docs off me. You're a real human being. You're probably gay. You're probably trans. You're one of us. Then I'll fucking add you on Facebook in a hot second.
One of us.
No cis, no het, no. No cis, no het, no 4chan.
Words to live by. And if you want to get in touch with the show, we are on Facebook at Hedwig's Wicked Little Town, on Twitter at Hedwig Pod, Instagram Hedwig Pod, or there's a website, hedwigpodcast.com. Because hedwigpod.com, was it taken? I can't remember. Hedwigpodcast.com sounded cooler.
Yeah. Hedwig Pod sounds like some kind of enclosure for Hedwigs, and that's
it does,
not what
doesn't
this
it?
is.
It didn't work for a website, but I felt that worked for a Twitter. So that's the Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
And come and buy a T-shirt. There's a T-shirt at TeePublic. You can buy them. Go to the website. There's a link in the notes at the bottom. Mm-hmm. Really cool T-shirts. Really cool logo.
Beautiful
designer. He's amazing, that guy. He's the best. There's a couple of designs I've got now. You can get a gummy bear one, which I've designed.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's quite cool.
Oof.
And on some of them, I deliberately don't put the name of the show on, which some people say is bad advertising. But I just see it as, well, more people are more inclined to buy it.
Good match. Yeah, bad advertising, good match.
Exactly. And it'll draw people like, oh, what's that from? You're like, well, actually, my
There
Sugar
happens
Daddy
to be.
T-shirt is, you can get a Sugar Daddy mug.
Also, people think that the T-shirts are advertising for the podcast. What if the podcast is advertising for the T-shirts, eh?
Shh, don't tell them about the capitalist ways. But come and do that, everybody. And the show will be back with, can you guess, Chapter 7 is the next one. And Chapter 7... Yay!
Sorry.
But Chapter 7 is titled Luther. It is the meeting of the two characters. So come and join me for the next chapter, coming soon. It won't be as long a wait. Bye.
Bye. Thank you for having me.